Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. We start our video with a hilarious story in which our OP discovered a stranger in his car while he was out shopping. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. I am the owner of this vehicle. A few weeks ago, I had a craving for the kind of comfort food that gives cardiologists nightmares and may be slightly radioactive. Naturally, I went to the grocery store to get the various bits of food and microwavable food substitutes. I completed my purchase and headed to the car. I was parked next to the cart return and paid no attention to the guy standing by my front bumper because people are always walking between cars in that area. As I opened the back door to toss my frozen food-grade plastics into the back seat, the guy jumped a little and said, "This is your car? I thought it was my buddy's car." I didn't think much of this because my car's a black Impala and there always seem to be at least 3 other identical cars in every parking lot I visit. I replied with a, "Yup, you'll have to keep looking." Just then he sees his buddy and calls out to ask which car they came in because he thought they came in mine. His buddy gets an exasperated look and points at the white Suburban parked next to me. It's 2:30 in the afternoon, so I decide to assume he's easily confused instead of drunk. I still hurried up to get in my car, all the same anyway. The problem is if you walk distracted and open a car with your keys, and this is not your car, but same brand. And our second story. No one cuts the line? Yes, ma'am. When I was in college many years ago, I was a bouncer at one of the main college bars. There were 5 bars on the same street right off campus that got packed on the weekend. Most of the bouncers knew each other and would let each other cut the lines at their bar for the same implied treatment if they had a weekend off. Just to be clear, we were only letting 5 to 6 people cut the line a night. Usually when another bouncer came to my door, I'd just open and let him in, hand him a wristband, and he'd walk away as to not disturb the line. Now to the story. One night, I let a bouncer cut the line discreetly as usual, except this time someone in line started yelling at me, cursing blah, blah, blah. I just said that he worked at the bar. This tactic usually works on drunk people who aren't thinking clearly. The guy apparently was still pissed and told my manager what happened after he got in. This particular manager was a huge hypocrite. She preached the rules and was always on my butt about having the correct count in case the fire marshal showed up. But on her night off would bring in 15 friends through the back door and tell me to equalize the count, i.e. let 15 people out before one could come in. This is a key example of how to piss off a line of people. So this night she came up to me and asked why I let this guy cut the line. Obviously she knows who he is, and I say he works at such and such bar. She chews my butt out for 5 minutes or so and says, "No one effing cuts the line ever." I shrug it off and go about my bouncing duties. This happens somewhat often. People get pissed because they see us let someone in. The managers were usually relaxed about it because they got to cut at other bars as well. Well, several weeks later, I'm at the door again on a Friday night. The whole street's packed, at least 50 people in line, and I see the manager leave the bar across the street. I almost couldn't stop smiling when I saw it. That bee walks up to the door, doesn't even acknowledge me, and tries to walk in. I calmly put my arm across the door and say, "I'm sorry, miss, I'm at capacity. If you'd like to come in, you'll have to go to the back of the line." She turns and, slurring her speech, says to F off, she's my manager. I said, "Yes, ma'am, that's true, but you aren't working tonight, and there are no effing cuts ever." I can see the blood start to boil in her head. She starts to chew me out, as I'm accustomed to from her. Yeah, I'm having to bite my inner lip to keep from smiling and laughing. I still have my arm across the door, and she can't walk in, and she tells me to go get the MOD, manager on duty that's working that night. Again, calmly, I say, "I'm sorry, but I cannot leave the door unattended," or who knows what could happen. But she's welcome to call the manager. She's so pissed, the veins in her head are visible, and she's cursing and throwing a fit. I just go back to checking IDs and giving wristbands. Finally, the manager walks up and asks me what the F I'm doing. I let him know about the no effing cuts ever policy. He kind of puts his fingers on his forehead and shakes his head like, "Gee, D, why is this happening?" For some stupid reason, the MOD sides with me and told her that rules are rules. He must have been sick of her bullcrap too. I had to bite down so hard on my inner lip to keep from laughing, I made my lip bleed. The look of surprise and anger on her face was priceless. By now, the line died down to maybe 10 people, so she shuffles to the back, staring daggers at me the whole time. This may be the best part. She gets to the front of the line and is still very wobbly from drinking heavily. One person leaves, and she's about to walk in, and I very politely inform her that she's too intoxicated to come in tonight. She just stood there for what felt like an eternity, probably just 15 seconds or so, staring at me and mumbled, "F off." You could see the defeat in her eyes at this point, and she turned and left without another word. It's funny how this is a thought-out revenge, while she probably just assumed you're thick. Well served.
And our next story. Got to kick out a litigious B word. Okay, so I manage a sports bar. This woman sued us 5 or so years ago for slipping and breaking her leg. Her dad was known to stage accidents and fall all the time. Turns out the daughter had the same idea. To make a long story short, she won the lawsuit. The settlement was $25,000, which insurance paid. During the lawsuit, her dad keeps coming into the bar to inform us he's going to own the bar soon. Just being a jerk of a man with his daughter following him behind with a smirk on her face, so we kindly tell them to leave. He continued this for a week or so, then he finally quit. Well, cue to last week. I see this woman who looks an awful like the woman that sued us many years ago. All I could think was, man, this woman looks like an alligator. So did the lady who sued us. It's her. Come to find out, it's her birthday, and she's up at our bar celebrating, so I walk up, put a wet floor sign right in front of her, and ask her if her name is... Let's call her Jen, because that's her name. She says yes, and I tell her to get the F out. After her acting like an overprivileged bee, she leaves, sits in her car for a while, and as she pulls out, bam, hits a cop car. Anyway, she gets a DUI. I don't know if the stars aligned or baby Jesus was looking out, but it was a great night, because F her. And our last short story. Revenge is best served frozen. We don't own a car and live at the end of a cul-de-sac. I have people use my driveway all the time to turn around. It's not a huge deal to me, a little annoying when they compact the snow and it's harder to shovel, but whatever. One of my neighbors had a ride service come pick up their child every day. The van would park in my spot and begin honking at like 8 a.m. I worked nights at the time. Half the time he'd be half parked on my grass. I told my neighbor that I don't overly mind my spot being used, but not if he's going to honk like that every morning, and especially not if he's going to drive over what little lawn I have every time. She spoke with him. He ignored it. I spoke with him and got, "What's your problem, man? It's not like you're using it." To which I repeated that I don't mind him using it if he stays off my grass and he doesn't honk every morning. Apparently suggesting he wait till the kid notices he's there, or God forbid he have to drag his butt out of the car and knock on a door, was just ridiculous and inhumane of me. So I left a recycle bin at the foot of my driveway. He just ran over it. I called the dispatch for the ride service and was told they are subcontractors and technically self-employed, but they'll pass along the message. I wake up the next day to a pounding on my door. Dude is PO'd. Him. "How dare you call my boss, you stupid piece of crap? What the F is wrong with you?" Me. Well, it's quite simple. You were told not to use my driveway if you were going to drive on my lawn and wake me up every morning. Now get off my doorstep. I'll sue you if I lose my job because of you. You've been warned. Don't trespass on my driveway or property again. Dude storms off in a huff, spouting obscenities, etc. So this happened on a Thursday. The kids have a PD day the next day, and it's supposed to be one of those delightful Canadian weekends where it drops to like minus 40 degrees Celsius. For my American friends, minus 40 is where Celsius and Fahrenheit meet up, so it's freaking cold, LOL. So that night, I grabbed one of my more beat-up plastic garbage bins, made sure to plug all the holes with a generous amount of duct tape, stuck a sign on it that read, "Private property, driveway not for public use," and proceeded to fill it to the brim with water. Now, before anyone thinks I'm a jerk willing to potentially endanger the other kids in the car, I'd like to point out that my neighbor's kid is the first to be picked up, so it's just him in the car. Cue Monday morning. He sees the garbage can, backs up a bit more, and defiantly charges the garbage can as if to teach me a lesson, and proceeds to cause some pretty serious damage to the front end of his car. Dude gets out fuming, calls the cops, and comes pounding on my door, screaming about how I'm going to buy him a new car and that I'm about to be arrested. Cop: so let me make sure I understand this situation. He asked you not to park here if you could refrain from honking, then warned you not to park here and put up a barrier. Now you expect him to be charged and pay for damages you caused yourself to your vehicle in an attempt to destroy his own personal property? I will never forget the look on his face when the officer said, "Yeah, that's not how this works," and turned to me asking if I wanted to pursue charges for him damaging my personal property. I just gave him the most crap-eating grin I could muster and said, "Nah, I think we're good." I then went back inside to enjoy a morning coffee while watching him from my kitchen window as he paced back and forth in the cold waiting for a tow truck and having to call the company he worked for to explain why they needed to send out another driver to complete his route. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.